Picture the richest country on earth. Now picture it eating itself alive from the inside. Fill it with the smell of napalm on the 6 o'clock news and the sound of mothers crying in houses where the lawns are still perfectly mowed. Add a president who can't sleep, a generation that doesn't trust anyone over 30, and a war that nobody can explain in a single sentence without lions somewhere in the middle of it. That's America. 1968. Bleeding into 1969. The most prosperous, most powerful, most terrified country in the world. A place where you could watch a moon landing and a race riot in the same summer. A place where the morning paper might carry a record stock market high and a record body count in the same paragraph, on the same page, next to a department store advertisement for fall sweaters. A place where you could be sitting in a kitchen that smells of Johnson's floor wax and your mother's perfume and pot roast, eating eggs on an ordinary Tuesday morning, and somewhere on the other side of the world, 14 time zones away, 11,000 miles distant, in a place that doesn't even register on most maps you've ever seen. A boy who sat 3 rows behind you in homeroom is face down in a rice paddy, whose name he never learned and never will. We're going back there tonight, not as historians with statistics, not as politicians with positions, not even as protesters with signs. We're living it, one day, one ordinary person, the most unremarkable Tuesday you've ever had, until it wasn't. So I make these history stories, and honestly, I have no idea if anyone actually sleeps to them, or if you're all just insomniacs who find the sound of a man slowly describing 1969 Youngstown, Ohio, oddly soothing. Either way, get comfortable, turn off the light. Here we go. Your name is James Kowalski. Nobody calls you James. You're Jimmy. Always have been. You are 20 years old, born February 14th, 1949, which your mother thought was poetic and every kid in your class thought was an invitation to never let you forget it. Valentine's Day. Jimmy. You stopped correcting people who snickered about it around 8th grade. Some fights aren't worth having. You live at 412 Dearborn Street, Youngstown, Ohio, a city that makes things. Or made things, or is in the middle of figuring out whether it still does. That's where it is in September 1969, that particular transitional anxiety of a place that was built on industry and is starting to wonder quietly in the back of its mind what comes next. Steel mills, that's Youngstown, smokestacks along the river, working 24 hours, the glow of the furnaces visible at night from the hills to the east if you know where to look. Men with hands so hardened by labour they don't look like hands exactly. They look like something carved from material rather than grown from it. Your grandfather came from Poland in 1922 with $9 and a last name that immigration officials shortened by 2 syllables without asking. Your father has worked at Republic Steel for 22 years, will probably work there until his back gives out completely or the mill closes, and in 1969 neither of those things has happened yet, and they both feel like abstractions. The house is 2 stories, frame construction, white paint going yellow at the edges, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom that gets contested every morning with the urgency of international diplomacy, a kitchen where something is always either just beginning to cook or just finishing, so the whole house smells permanently of hot grease and coffee and whatever your mother decided would happen that day. This morning it's eggs. Your eyes open at 6:42, not the alarm. The alarm is set for 7. Your body just knows. It pulls you up 18 minutes early with a low certainty that the day is beginning whether you're ready or not, the same way days always begin. The ceiling of your bedroom has a water stain in the corner above the window. It's been there 3 years. Your father promises to fix it every spring, and every spring something else comes up first. The stain has become so familiar you'd notice its absence before its presence. It's shaped roughly like the state of Michigan if Michigan had grown something strange on its lower peninsula. The air is cold. September cold. The kind that settles against your skin like a damp cloth, that makes leaving the bed feel like a small betrayal because the sheets have been warming around you all night and the room has not. You sit up. The floor is linoleum, cool and slightly tacky under your feet, the way linoleum is in the early morning before the day has warmed it. Your jeans are on the chair, your work shirt, blue, short-sleeved, with Jimmy stitched above the chest pocket in yellow thread, hangs on the doorknob. You dress in the dark. Jeans, undershirt, work shirt, socks. The socks require care. 3 pairs look nearly identical in low light. The difference between the thin ones and the thick ones matters because your work boots fit tight, and the thin socks give you blisters by noon. You sit on the edge of the bed after lacing up, not because you're tired, just because early mornings reward a few seconds of sitting still in them. The house is quiet. The street outside is almost silent. An occasional car moves past, its headlights sweeping once across your ceiling like a slow hand. September 16th, 1969. A Tuesday. Nothing about it that's different from any other Tuesday. Just a day. You go downstairs. The kitchen smells like coffee before you're through the door. Your mother is already at the stove. Blue terry cloth house coat, worn smooth at the elbows. Hair not yet done. She's moving eggs in a cast iron pan with a wooden spatula so old it's turned the colour of dark mahogany. Morning, you say. Sit down, she says. Not unkindly, just efficient. The kitchen table is yellow formica with chrome legs. You sit in your chair, left side, closest to the window, and pour coffee from the percolator that lives permanently between the toaster and the radio. Your father would drink motor oil if it came with caffeine. You've been drinking it black since you were 17, because that's how he drinks it, and you wanted to be a man about something. The radio is always on. WKBN, the local AM station, news in the mornings. A man with the kind of voice built specifically for bad news reads the weather. High of 62, chance of afternoon showers, fog in the lowlands. 62. That means your jacket for the bike ride in, but not by afternoon. Your mother sets a plate down. 2 eggs over easy, toast slightly burned on the left side the way it always is because the toaster has a hot element on that side, and a glass of orange juice. You eat. The eggs are cooked in bacon grease. Always. The yolk breaks when your fork touches it and runs yellow across the white, across the toast, and you mop it up the way you've been mopping eggs since you were 5 years old. The coffee leaves a slight bitterness at the back of the tongue. The toast burned on one side has a char that isn't entirely unpleasant, something smoky cutting through the fat of the eggs. Outside the window the world is grey, morning light that hasn't yet decided whether it's going to commit. Your mother sits across from you with her coffee and a piece of toast. She never eats much in the mornings. Mrs. Harmon called last night, she says. Yeah? Her Tommy got his notice. You stop chewing. Tommy Harmon. Tommy who you played Little League with on the field at McGuffey Park. Tommy who put a firecracker in the Kowalski mailbox on the 4th of July when you were both 12 and your father chased him 3 blocks before giving up and laughing about it. Tommy who graduated a year before you. and has been working at the Packard Electric plant on Market Street since last fall. When? She said Friday, induction in 4 weeks. You pick up your fork again and eat your eggs. There's not a lot to say to that. Tommy Harmon has a notice. Tommy will be in the army in 4 weeks, and then basic training, and then, after that, probably Vietnam, because that's where you go after basic training in October of 1969, more often than not. This has been happening all year, all last year, all the year before that. Boys from Dearborn Street and boys from the neighbourhoods around it, and boys from across the city and boys from every city in the country. Boys who played Little League, and boys who worked at Packard Electric, and boys who thought they had more time. The radio shifts from weather to national news. A man reads in a steady professional voice that 200 American soldiers were killed in Vietnam last week. Last week. Your mother reaches over and turns the radio down. Just a little, not off. She wants to know. She just doesn't want it quite so loud right now, at this table, with her son eating eggs. You finish breakfast. Thanks, Ma, you say, and you mean it more than you say it. She takes your plate without comment. You go for your jacket. Your bicycle is a 1962 Schwinn Varsity, bought second-hand for $11 from a neighbour when you were 16. Repainted once, badly, in a colour supposed to be forest green that came out the colour of old spinach. The rear derailleur sticks in the cold. The saddle is cracked leather taped twice with electrical tape that's now starting to peel at the edges. You love it without reservation. The morning air hits you when you push off the driveway, cool and slightly damp with the smell of it that is specifically September in Ohio. Dry leaves beginning but not begun, mowed lawns, morning dew, and underneath all of it the faint sulphur smell drifting from the mills when the wind comes from the north. Youngstown steel. You've breathed it your whole life. You only notice it anymore in moments like this one, when you're moving and the air comes at you. Dearborn to Kenmore, Kenmore to Glenwood. This is the route you take every morning because it's the flattest way, and because the light at the Glenwood-Belmont intersection gives you a long enough green that you don't have to stop. This city is waking up around you. Men in work clothes walking toward bus stops, their hands in their pockets, their breath making small clouds in the September air. A woman shaking a rug out from a second-floor window. A dog on a porch watching you with the particular superiority of an animal that is warm and isn't going anywhere. A kid, 7 maybe, sitting on a front step eating something from a paper bag, waiting for the school bus with the infinite patience of children who have nowhere else to be. You pass St. Stanislaus on the corner of Glenwood and Rayen. Sign out front with the mass schedule. Beneath it, in smaller letters, Pray for our boys in Vietnam. 3 names under it. You know all 3. Not well, but well enough to put a face to each. None of them are dead, as far as you know. As far as you know. You keep pedalling. Buckeye Gas and Tyre sits on the corner of Market and Latrobe. 2 service bays and a gas station. 2 pumps, regular and high test. A small office that smells permanently of burnt coffee, motor oil, and the particular chemical warmth of tyre rubber that's been in a heated space. Your boss is Ray Kirster. 53 years old, thick through the chest and shoulders, hands that have spent 30 years in the work. Not unfriendly, not warm. He runs a tight station. The pumps are clean. The bays are organised. The oil gets changed on schedule. He pays you $2.10 an hour. Reasonable. Not great. Reasonable. You lock your bike to the pipe on the side of the building, Hang your jacket on the hook inside the door. Pour a mug from the pot Ray's already made. It tastes like he made it at 5 in the morning, which he probably did. And by 8 o'clock you're in Bay 2, under a 67 Buick Skylark belonging to a dentist from Boardman, who brings all his cars here because he trusts Ray not to cheat him. Here's what an oil change feels like. The car is up on the lift. The undercarriage smells of road tar and grease, and the ghost residue of every highway it's travelled. The exhaust manifold is warm against your palm when you check it. The car has cooled enough, not hot, just radiating stored heat from the morning drive. You slide the drain pan under the oil plug. The plug is always tight on the first removal of a service interval. You lean into the wrench, feel the resistance, lean harder, and it breaks loose with the particular small satisfaction of something that held and then gave. The oil comes out black and slightly warm, a steady stream that narrows as the pan empties. Old oil has a smell that's not bad and not good. It's the smell of friction and heat and time, the smell of work already done. While it drains, you climb back up to the air filter, pull it from the housing, a circular black canister, and hold it to the light. Grey with road dust and lint, the fibres clogged. You tap it against the heel of your palm and a small cloud of fine grey grit falls out. New filter, then the oil filter, the strap wrench, the old one coming off and leaking a thin stream down your forearm. You wipe it with the red shop rag from your back pocket, soft from 100 washings, already grey with the morning's work. New filter goes on hand tight. Then the plug goes back. Clean threads, slight resistance, then tight. Then 4 quarts of Pennzoil 10W40, each one poured through the funnel with that particular hollow glug and slow as the level in the engine rises. Pull the dipstick, clean amber oil on the cloth, reinsert, pull again between the marks. Done. 22 minutes when you're moving well. You're moving well. You lower the car, slide out the drain pan, carry it to the waste drum in the back. The oil pours in with a thick liquid sound. You replace the lid and wash your hands at the industrial sink. The pink Gojo gel that smells of fake flowers and cuts grease. Better than almost anything. And by the time you've rinsed and dried, your hands are clean everywhere, except the deep creases of the knuckles, where the grey shadow of the work has already settled in for the day. Your father's hands look like this, have since before you can remember. Around 10 o'clock a car pulls in for gas. The driver, a man about your father's age in a brown cardigan, leans against the door while you pump and says, "Hell of a thing about the lottery, isn't it?" "Sir?" "The draft lottery. Congress is putting it by birthday, random number. Your number comes up." He shrugs, the shrug of a man the right age to have served somewhere and be glad it isn't him this time. You've heard this. There's been talk all fall. The current system, 1A, available for service, works through local draft boards who decide classifications, student deferments, hardship, medical, conscientious objector. The new lottery will assign each birthday a number between 1 and 366. Low number, you go first. High number, you're probably safe. "What's your birthday?" he asks. You pump. Watch the numbers spin. "February 14th. He looks at you. "Valentine's Day." "Yeah." He doesn't say anything for a moment, just watches the pump counter. "Well," he says, "hope they pull a high number for you." He pays $1.51 and drives away. You stand in the lot for a moment after his car turns out. February 14th. A number somewhere between 1 and 366. The lottery hasn't happened yet. It's supposed to happen this winter. December, they're saying. But right now, in September of 1969, the old system is still running. Local boards, classifications, induction notices. Tommy Harmon got his on Friday. You think about this for a moment. Standing in the driveway with the smell of gasoline sharp in your nose and the morning sun finally starting to work on the grey. Then a Pontiac pulls in and you go to meet it. Noon. Mel's Diner, next door to the station. 8 stools, 4 booths, a menu unchanged since Eisenhower. Mel Szymanski, enormous, light on his feet, 20 years behind the same grill, doesn't ask what you want. He'd been watching you walk in for a year. You sit on the 3rd stool from the door, the comfortable one. BLT Jimmy? BLT Mel. The counter is white formica with a crack running its length near the last stool. The stools are red vinyl, foam showing through. The diner smells of fry grease and coffee and bread on the griddle, which is one of the better smells in the world and doesn't get sufficient acknowledgement. The radio behind the counter plays the Beatles, something from Abbey Road, which came out last week and which Mel, who is 52 and does not follow the Beatles, plays because it's what comes on. Pete Danello and Danny McAllister come in and take the stools beside you. Pete is 22. He does tyres at the station. He has a deferment, married, wife pregnant, they're first. He has a round face and a laugh that comes too easily for the situation, and you've always liked him for it. The ease of it, the way it costs him nothing to laugh. Danny is 23. He drove a truck with a 1A classification for 6 months, sweating every morning until he turned 24 and got reclassified 1Y for a bum knee. You hear about Tommy Harmon? Pete asks. My mother told me this morning. 4 weeks, Danny says. A pause. The bacon sizzles on Mel's grill, a particular percussive sound like rain on a metal roof, like something alive. He appealing it? Pete asks. Don't know. You could appeal. That's the thing you think about, sitting on the 3rd stool. You could go to your draft board. The Mahoning County Board has an office on Mahoning Avenue, and you could appeal your classification. Hardship. Your family needs you. Medical. Bad shoulder from a baseball injury 3 years ago, never properly diagnosed. Conscientious. Objector. You believe on moral or religious grounds that you cannot participate in warfare. Most of those require proving something. Proving things to a board of men who've heard every version of every story. Or college. A 2S student deferment keeps you out as long as you're enrolled. But you're not in college. You graduated in 67, worked a warehouse year, started at Ray's in 68. College wasn't quite the plan. Your family couldn't afford it without a scholarship, and you hadn't been quite the student for one. Or Canada. People go to Canada. There are people who do this. The number is 30 or 40,000 now, they say. Nobody counts exactly because counting would mean acknowledging. You don't say this at the counter. Mel slides the BLT across. It's perfect. Bacon crisp, lettuce cold and cool, tomato actually tasting like something, white bread toasted gold. This is what a perfect BLT is. You eat it and drink your coffee and listen to Danny talk about his knee. They said grade 3 sprain, Danny says, but the doctor wrote it up differently, on the form. How bad is it actually? Danny shrugs. I played 3 sets of tennis 2 weeks ago. Pete laughs. Danny joins him. You don't. It's not that you're angry at Danny. He found an angle and a doctor willing to write it down, and that's how this works. You'd probably do the same thing if the angle were there. Wouldn't you? Wouldn't almost anyone? But Tommy Harmon doesn't have that doctor. Or if he does, nobody's writing anything down for Tommy. Tommy's going. You leave $1.60 on the counter and go back to work. The afternoon passes the way Tuesday afternoons pass. A tyre rotation on a 65 Ford Fairlane. An oil change on a station wagon belonging to a woman who watches from the waiting area with the vigilance of someone who has been overcharged before and intends not to be again. A brake job that takes longer than it should because the right caliper is corroded, requiring penetrating oil and a ball-peen hammer applied with controlled force. You work it loose eventually, the metal finally yielding with a deep metallic crack that travels up your arms. There's a cut on your right index finger from when the caliper let go suddenly, and the sharp edge caught you. Nothing serious. A piece of rag, antiseptic from the first aid kit on the wall, a band-aid, and you're back at it. A customer argues with Ray for 10 minutes about the $3.50 charge for windshield wipers. The charge is fair. He pays it. Around 3:30, in a gap between cars, you sit on the Fairlane's bumper with a cigarette. Marlboro. Red pack. Half a pack a day, sometimes less. The cigarette tastes like the afternoon, slightly acrid, cutting through the grease smell. Something to do with your hands while your mind runs. You stare at Market Street. Cars going by. A bus hissing at the corner stop. A woman on the far sidewalk pushing a stroller, moving fast. She has somewhere to be. Normal. Everything is normal. This is the thing about the hour before. You don't know. The world looks exactly like it always does. It doesn't announce itself, the thing that's coming. It just comes, wrapped in an ordinary afternoon, indistinguishable from every other ordinary afternoon that turned out to be nothing. At some point today, at some point while you were rotating tyres or arguing with Ray about wiper blades, the mail carrier made his rounds on Dearborn Street. At some point he opened the box at 4:12 and put in whatever came for the Kowalski family. Maybe a bill, maybe your mother's Ladies' Home Journal subscription, maybe a circular from the hardware store. You don't know this yet. You stub out the cigarette on the concrete. You go back inside. 5 o'clock. You wash up at the industrial sink. Pink Gojo, hot water, the nail brush working the knuckle creases until they're as clean as they're going to get before home. The cut on your finger has clotted under the band-aid. You say goodnight to Ray, who's on the phone and nods, and you go out to the Schwinn. The afternoon has gone the way the weather said. Overcast now, the sun behind flat grey cloud. Not raining yet, but the air carries the specific weight of air planning to rain. Heavier, cooler. You can smell the water in it. You push off. Market to Glenwood, Glenwood to Kenmore, Kenmore to Dearborn. Every crack in the pavement, every dip and heave. You know this route better than you know most things. The city at 5 is different from the city at 8. Full of people moving the other direction now. Men in work clothes on buses heading inbound as you're heading out. Cars lined up at the lights, the smells of dinners starting in houses you pass. Pork chops and onions, something baking, the clean hot smell of a heated house from a window left slightly open. Kids on the Mulaney block, playing some game with rules only they understand, running and shouting. You thread through them. They scatter and close back up. You turn onto Dearborn Street, the 4th house on the left. White paint, yellow trim. The maple in the front yard has started its turn. The leaf tips going yellow at the edges, not committed yet, just testing. By next week the whole tree will be fire. You walk your bike up the driveway, the mailbox. You notice, in the way you notice 100 small things without them meaning anything. You notice that the mailbox is open. the metal door hanging slightly ajar, the way it does when your mother's been out to check and didn't quite push it closed. This means nothing. You put the bike in the garage and go inside. Your mother is at the kitchen table. She turns when you come in, and something in her face is different. You register it the way you register a sound that stopped, not a presence, an absence, a tightness in the shoulders that wasn't there this morning, a quality to her stillness that isn't quite stillness. "Good day," she says. "Usual. Break job ran long. Dinner's at 6. Okay." You go upstairs. Change out of the work clothes, the oil-stained jeans, the blue shirt with your name in the yellow thread, into regular clothes. Green and blue plaid flannel, soft from washing. You scrub your hands at the bathroom sink with a nail brush. Get the deep grey from the knuckle creases, the work shadow that has been there since 8 o'clock. You look at yourself in the mirror. 20 years old. Brown hair a little long over the ears. Grey eyes, from your grandfather on your mother's side. Your father's jaw, broad and square. A face that hasn't done anything remarkable yet, and hasn't had to. You go back downstairs. Carol is at the kitchen table doing homework with a particular focused inattention of a 16-year-old who's thinking about something else entirely. She says hi without looking up. You go to the living room and turn on the television. The zenith takes a moment to warm up, the picture resolving slowly from grey into shapes. Local news anchor. Continuing today in Washington as the Senate debated. You change the channel, a black and white war movie, you change again. A game show, with bells and audience laughter and an announcer performing enthusiasm. You leave it there. The game show sounds fill the room with something that is the opposite of informative, which is exactly what you need. You sit on the right cushion of the Davenport, your usual spot, slightly firmer than your father's depression on the left, and the house makes its sounds around you. Your mother in the kitchen, the refrigerator opening, Carol's pen on paper, the game show, a car outside, the familiar sounds of a Tuesday evening. Somewhere in this house, you don't know where yet, there is a piece of paper that came in the mail today. Your mother was outside to check it. Your mother came in with the mail. Your mother turned from the stove when you walked in with something changed in her posture. You don't know this yet. You watch the game show. The living room is warm. The radiator has come on for the first time since spring, ticking and hissing as the water moves through the pipes, metal expanding. This sound means the season has changed, means being inside is becoming its own particular gift. You've heard this sound every fall of your life. From the kitchen, meatloaf. The smell of meatloaf baking, the ketchup glaze and the savoury smell of the beef and onion is one of those smells that means home in a way that bypasses whatever you might think about the word. You put your feet on the coffee table and roll your right shoulder, stiff from the caliper job, from the force you had to put into it, and it pops and loosens. This is the hour before. You don't know it's the hour before. You're just watching a game show in your living room on a Tuesday evening, a little tired from the day, waiting for dinner. You think about Linda Maxco. 5 months you've been seeing her, since April, since a party at Steve Kalinsky's house where you stayed, until 2 a.m. talking, actually talking, not just performing conversation, about things you don't normally talk to people about. She works the fabric department at Kmart on Meridian Road. Dark hair. Reads books for pleasure. Laughs at things you say before you're sure they're actually funny, which is the best kind of laugh because it means she trusts you. You're seeing her Friday. The movie's at the State Theatre. Something new she's been wanting to see. Afterward, The Italian place on South Avenue where the veal is cheap and good, and the owner is a man named Sal who has known your family since you were 8 years old and calls you by name. Friday is 3 days from now. You're going to see Linda on Friday. Dinner is called at 6. Jimmy Carroll dinner. Your father isn't home yet. Late on Tuesdays. Overtime when he can get it. You and Carol sit down. Your mother brings the meatloaf to the table. She sits down across from you. She pours water for everyone. She does not look at you. You've been noticing this since you came downstairs, the not looking at you specifically, which is different from simply looking at other things. You've sat across from your mother at this table for 20 years. You know the difference. Your fork stops halfway to your mouth. She looks up. Her eyes are steady. She's made some internal arrangement of herself. Some decision she made between when the mail came and when you walked in, about how to do this. There was a letter, she says. The fork goes down. Carol looks up from her potatoes. From the draft board. The kitchen is very quiet. The refrigerator runs. The radiator ticks. Somewhere outside, a neighbour's dog barks twice and stops. Just twice. Where is it, you ask? She gets up and goes to the counter next to the fridge, to the small stack of mail where mail lives. She picks up an envelope and brings it to you. Plain white, business size, upper left corner, selective service system. Your name and address typed in the centre. Typed, not handwritten. Machines typed this. There are thousands of these going out this week, this month, this year. The envelope has been opened. Your mother opened it. You don't ask about this. It doesn't seem like the thing to address right now. You take out the letter. The paper is thin. Government paper. Institutional. Almost not quite real. The kind of paper that important things are typed on specifically because it's different from regular paper. Lighter. Slightly formal in its very material. Order to report for induction. Greeting. You're hereby ordered to report for induction into the Armed Forces of the United States. You read it. The language is formal, neutral, completely impersonal. Your name at the top. Your selective service number. The date. October 14th, 1969. 28 days from today. You are to report to the Armed Forces examining an entrance station, 11 North Phelps Street, Youngstown, Ohio, at 6:30 in the morning. Bring identification, a change of clothing, enough money for personal needs for several days. Do not bring large amounts of cash, valuables, or things you would not want to lose. At the bottom, a reminder about the consequences of failure to comply. You read this part twice. Then you fold the letter on its crease and set it on the table. Carol sits very still. Your mother sits back down. She picks up her fork but doesn't eat. Dad doesn't know yet, she says. He'll be home later. Yes. Silence. The meatloaf sits in the centre of the table going slightly cold. The ketchup glaze congealing at the edges. The baked potatoes steam. The green beans smell of butter and bacon. An ordinary dinner that has become something else. 28 days, you say. Yes. That's not. You stop. Do the math anyway. That's not a lot of time. No, Carol says quietly without looking up. Can you appeal it? Maybe. I don't know. If you enrolled in college, she starts. Carol, she stops. She's 16 and she's trying to solve it the way problems get solved, by finding the angle, the route around the obstacle. She doesn't fully know yet, or maybe she does, which is why her voice is slightly unsteady, that some problems don't route around. You look at the letter on the table, plain white paper, government seals, your name typed by a machine that doesn't know your name, only your number. This is real. That's the thing that takes a moment to actually absorb. Not the idea of the draft. You've lived with that abstract possibility for 2 years. It's been the background frequency of your life since you were 18. But this specific piece of paper with this specific date. October 14th. 28 days. Not an idea. A date. You pick up your fork. You eat your meatloaf. It's good. It's still good. The egg your mother puts in the centre. The ketchup glaze. You eat it and it tastes like meatloaf. Like Tuesday. Like her kitchen. Like every Tuesday that came before this one. You eat it like it might be the last time you eat it. Even though it isn't. But the brain does that sometimes. Marks things. Registers the ordinary as precious in the exact moment it stops being guaranteed. You do the dishes. This is not a significant act. You often do dishes on nights when your father is late. Scrape the plates into the trash. Fill the sink with hot water and yellow soap. It smells of artificial lemon. It always makes too many bubbles. Wash, and Carol dries. The water is hot against your already scrubbed hands. The grease from the meatloaf pan takes work. You use the brush on the crusted ketchup glaze, and it comes off in small reddish flakes that you rinse down the drain. Carol works beside you without speaking for a while. Then, you scared. You think about this honestly, the way you can with Carol in a way you can't with most people. Yeah, you say, a little. Okay. Not the kind that stops you from doing something, just you rinse a glass. Yeah, scared. I don't want you to go. I know. I really, actually specifically don't want you to go, Jimmy. Not just... I know, Carol. She stops, dries a plate, sets it in the cabinet. What's Dad going to say? This is the question you've been sitting with since you read the letter. Your father, who served in Korea, who came back from Korea and never talked about it. Not in the real way, the way that means you actually understand what happened. Who has a photograph in his top bureau drawer of himself and 3 other men in army fatigues, young, grinning, arms around each other, taken somewhere in Korea before or after or between something he's never named? Who watches the Vietnam news every night with a face you cannot read? What is he going to say? He'll be home by 9, you say. You call Linda at 9. The hallway phone, black rotary, the cord stretched so many times it hangs in loose spirals. She answers on the 3rd ring. Hi, you say. Jimmy, I was just thinking about... Her voice through the receiver, slightly tinnier than in person, but still recognisably her, still that specific quality of her voice. I was going to call you later. I got my draft notice today. A pause. Oh, Jimmy. Just that. Yeah. When? October 14th to report. That's... Another pause. That's really soon. Yeah. What are you... How are you right now? I don't know, you say honestly. Strange. Dad's not home yet. I'm going to talk to him when he gets in. I'm coming over. Linda is almost... I know what time it is. I'm coming over. A pause. I'll be there in 20 minutes. You put your forehead against the plaster wall next to the phone. The plaster's cool and slightly rough under your forehead. Solid. This kind of old plaster over lath has a weight to it, a density that suggests the house knows what it's doing. Okay, you say. Okay, unlock the side door. She comes in through the side door quietly, 2 soft knocks that are the signal, and you meet her in the kitchen. Jeans and a heavy grey sweater, dark hair loose. She's been crying. You can see it in the slight redness at the corners of her eyes, though her face is composed now, settled into the expression she wears when she's decided to be steady. She looks at you. You look at her. She crosses the kitchen and puts her arms round you, and you put yours around her, And you stand there in the kitchen and she smells like shampoo and the outside cold she brought in with her, and the house makes its sounds around you. I'm not going to fall apart, she says into your shoulder. Okay. I'm not. I've decided. A pause. Just let me do this for 1 second. You don't say anything. The refrigerator runs, the radiator ticks. Then she pulls back. Her eyes are dry now. She's made the decision and it holds. Tell me everything, she says. Tell me about the options. You sit at the kitchen table and you do. She listens the way she listens to things. Actually, with the part of her attention that is for real things and not for performing attention. She asks good questions, the kind that show she's thinking rather than just responding. Father Mike at St. Stan's, she says at one point. You know him? Sure. He's been helping boys with CO applications. I heard him talking about it after Mass last month. He knows someone at the diocese who knows the process. CO's hard to get. He says the boards are approving more than people think, if you can show it's genuine. She looks at you directly. Is it genuine? You think about this honestly. I don't want to go to Vietnam, you say. That's genuine. That's not what they're asking. I know. They're asking if you oppose war. The concept of it. On moral grounds. Do you? You say. Do you know what I believe? She holds your gaze. I know you talked to Frank Serick this summer, she says, and I know what you said afterward, and I know you've watched the news every night for 2 years and you can't explain what we're doing there. A pause. I think you believe something. I think you need to figure out exactly what it is. My father said the same thing. Your father's a smart man. Outside, a car turns onto Dearborn Street. Its headlights sweep once across the kitchen wall. We don't have to solve it tonight, Linda says. No. Go to the draft board, see what they say, then go from there. She reaches across the table and puts her hand over yours. Your hand, still faintly grey at the knuckles despite the scrubbing. Her hand, warm, nails cut short the way she keeps them. Whatever happens, she says. Whatever you decide. I know. I'm not going anywhere. You look at her. I know, you say. She stays until 11:30. Then her coat goes on the side door and she's gone, and you lock the door and go upstairs. Your father comes home at 9:15. Front door. His voice, your mother's voice answering. Then a pause. Jimmy, come down. He's in the kitchen in his work clothes. The mill smell comes home with him every night. Heat and iron and something industrial that has no better name than the smell of steel. He has the letter in his hand. He looks at you. Your father is 51 years old. Broad through the chest and shoulders. Hair mostly grey now. Grey eyes. You have his eyes, or he has yours. It stops mattering after a while. He served in Korea from February 1952 to January 1953. 11 months. He came back with his body intact and with something else not entirely intact that he has never discussed, and that your mother once, in a conversation you were not supposed to hear, referred to as the bad dreams he had for years. He sets the letter on the table with the care of someone handling something that requires precision. Sit down, he says. You sit. He sits across from you. Your mother stands at the counter with her arms folded, not distant, just needing something to hold herself with. He puts his hands flat on the table, the hands of someone who has worked with them for 30 years, a scar between thumb and forefinger of the right, from a mill accident 7 years ago. We're going to talk about options, he says. Okay, there are options. I know. He goes through them. Medical, appeal, CO status, college enrollment, even late enrollment, even community college. He says each one flatly, practically, the way he approaches problems. You identify what you have to work with, and you use it. Do you have anything medically? He asks. Anything we could have looked at properly. My shoulder, the one from the baseball injury in '66. Dr. Petco, we can get you in this week. Before the October 2nd board meeting, he pauses. I'm not talking about anything dishonest. I'm talking about being thorough. You hear what he's saying, and you hear what he's not saying, which is, I went to Korea, and I know what war is, and I want you to use every honest option before you walk into that induction centre. Okay, you say. He looks at you for a long moment. Something is working in his face that he doesn't usually let show. I'm going to tell you something, he says, that I haven't said before. He pauses. I don't believe in this war, he says. It comes out flatly, like a statement of plain fact. I believed in Korea. I thought it was right. I still think it was right, or as right as war ever gets. But I've watched this one for 5 years and I don't understand what we're doing there. I can't explain it in a way that holds up. He looks at his hands on the table. If there's a legal, honest way to get you out of it, I want you to take it. The kitchen is very quiet then. Okay, you say. Okay. He nods. Tomorrow we go to the draft board and find out what we're dealing with exactly. He reaches across and picks up the letter, folds it precisely back along its crease. His hands are very steady. Get some sleep, he says. Your room at midnight. You're not going to sleep yet, you know this. You lie on your back and stare at Michigan's tumor and think about the boys you know who are already there. Mike Polzelli from 2 streets over. Played football in the vacant lot on Walnut all through junior high. A fast kid, light on his feet. Got his notice last November and went through basic at Fort Campbell and has been in country since February. His mother gets letters. The last one came 4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago, he was alive. Frank Sherrick, who you worked with at the warehouse. Got drafted in the spring of '68, came back a year later, and you saw him once at a bar on Mahoning Avenue in the summer, and he was different in a way you couldn't name exactly. Just that he was there, and then he was slightly somewhere else, his eyes going to another place in the middle of sentences. You talked to Frank for 20 minutes that night. He said the war was something. He said it was something. He bought you a beer and went home early and you haven't seen him since. Brian Mooney from your graduating class, who went to Kent State on a football scholarship until the scholarship fell through, who's been floating since, and who you heard got a notice too 2 months ago, different board. Where is Brian now? You don't know. This is what October 1969 is, a time when you don't know where some of the people you went to school with are, when some of them are in places with no names you recognise, and some are here and some are between, and some are... You stop that thought. 3 a.m. The clock on your desk, wind up, 2 bells on top, a birthday present from 4 years ago, reads 3:07. Your brain will not stop. The hour before was nothing, ordinary, oil changes and a BLT and a game show, and the smell of meatloaf. The hour before was just life, running at its regular speed, unchanged, unremarkable. The hour after is everything compressed into a space too small for it. The thinking and calculating and trying to see the shape of a future from a single Tuesday night in your childhood bedroom. Think about this street for a moment. Dearborn Street. The houses on it were built between 1918 and 1932, most of them. Frame construction, 2-story, on lots that aren't large, packed tight the way working-class neighbourhoods pack themselves because space costs money, and space is not what anyone here has in abundance. built for the families of steelworkers and factory workers and small tradesmen, Italians, Poles, Czechs, Slovaks, who came here because Youngstown was growing and the mills were hiring, and this was what America looked like from the outside. A place where you could build something out of labour and time. Your grandfather bought 412 in 1946, put down money he'd been saving in a coffee can for 20 years, then a bank account when he trusted banks again after the Depression. Your parents moved in when they married in 47. The street has had its losses. Second World War, 4 boys from Dearborn Street. Their names are on a plaque at the VFW Hall. 4 boys who grew up in these houses, played in this street, who left and didn't come back. Korea. 2. One of them a friend of your father's, a boy named Oleg, whose photograph is in the bureau drawer. Now, Vietnam. The street is doing what it's always done, sending its sons where the country sends them. The neighbourhood doesn't march with signs or burn draft cards. It goes to mass on Sunday and works the week, and when the notice comes, it goes. Some come back, and some. Wednesday morning. Your father has taken the morning off work. This costs him. He's hourly. He told his supervisor a family matter, which is true enough. The draft board office, 145 Mahoning Avenue. Beige tile, fluorescent light. The smell of official paper and cheap cleaning solution. A counter, and behind it, a woman, about 50, with the practiced neutrality of someone who has spent years being the face between ordinary families and the machinery of conscription. She pulls your file. 1A. No active deferments. Induction date October 14th. Your father asks about the appeal process. She explains it. 10 days from receipt to file, board meets October 2nd, paperwork required. On what grounds, your father asks? Hardship, dependency, medical, conscientious objector. She gives you a packet, manila envelope, forms for each category, and for the CO application, several essay questions asking you to describe the nature and basis of your moral objection to war. Outside, on the sidewalk, your father looks at the envelope. Medical first, he says. Dr. Petco this week. Have him look at everything. A pause. And we look at the CO paperwork, but that requires you to be honest. I know. About what you actually believe, not what you think will work on paper. I know, Dad. He looks at you for a moment. I believe what I believe, you say. I'm still working out what exactly that is. He nods. Then he puts his hand on your shoulder briefly, the way he doesn't do often, and holds it for 1 second and lets go. Let's get breakfast, he says. Real breakfast. I know a place. He takes you to Zub's Diner on Market Street, a place older than you that apparently he's been eating lunch at since before you were born. A counter, 8 stools, 4 booths. You sit in a booth. Coffee comes automatically. Your father wraps his hands around his mug and looks at it for a moment. I'm going to tell you something I haven't talked about before, he says. You wait. Korea, he pauses. I was afraid every day. Every day. Not the way you're afraid about something that might happen. The kind where the thing is already happening and your body just keeps going because stopping seems worse than anything. He says this as flat fact, the way he says everything. There was a place called Heartbreak Ridge. I was there, late 52, second battle. We were on that ridge for 8 days. You didn't know this. Men died. Men I knew. A boy named Tommy Purcell from Cincinnati who'd been in my unit 6 months and told the funniest stories you ever heard. Day 4. He looks up. And Oleg Pietrush from Dearborn Street. Oleg. The photograph in the bureau drawer. I believed in it, your father says. Korea. I thought it was right. I still think it was right. Or as right as war gets. The North invaded. People were dying. We went. He drinks his coffee. But I wouldn't send you to a war I didn't believe in. If I believed in this one, I'd tell you to go and come back safe and be proud. But I've watched it for 5 years and I cannot explain what we're accomplishing. A pause. If there's a legal, honest way to keep you here, I want you to take it. The diner sounds move around you. Coffee cups. Someone's laugh from a back booth. Mel? No, this is Zubs. This is some other cook on some other grill making the same BLT sounds. Okay, you say. Okay, he says. You eat your eggs. It's a good breakfast. What follows is 2 weeks of paperwork. Dr. Petco. The shoulder. The rotator cuff. Some scarring from the 66 injury, he says. Potentially classifiable as a chronic condition. He cannot promise anything. He writes a note. The CO essays. 3 evenings at your desk, the pen in hand over yellow legal pad. Drafts written and thrown away and written again. Because your father was right. This requires honesty. And honesty requires knowing what you believe, which is not the same as knowing what will work. You write about your grandfather. This country asks things of you. You write about the question of whether the thing being asked is right. You write about Frank Serick's eyes in that bar in the summer, the particular quality of a person slightly not there. You write about Mike Polzelli's mother counting weeks between letters. I believe that the taking of human life is wrong. I believe this because... And you stop, and start again, and stop, and call Linda, because she mentioned Father Mike, and Father Mike is real. Father Mikolai Wielopolski, Father Mike, comes to the house on a Saturday afternoon. Your mother makes coffee. He sits at the kitchen table and reads your paperwork and your essays and says nothing for a long time. Then, you believe God is involved in this? I believe that what I'm saying is true, you say. That's not the same thing. I know. The strongest CO cases have a clear religious foundation. He folds his hands. For a Catholic, the Church has a just war doctrine. War can be justified under certain conditions. A Catholic CO case must argue that this specific war fails those conditions, and that one's belief in the sanctity of life overrides the doctrine in this instance. Can I make that argument? Can you make it honestly? A pause. Yes. He looks at you with the attentiveness of a priest, which is not evaluating whether you're right, but whether you're real. Then write it that way. Don't argue that all war is wrong. Argue that you believe in the sanctity of human life as a fundamental moral principle, that this war cannot be justified under any framework available to you, and that you therefore cannot in conscience participate in it. Will the board? I don't know, he says honestly. I can write a letter attesting to your character. I've known you since your confirmation 8 years ago, but I want you to understand, a CO claim is its own commitment. If it's granted, you serve in a non-combat capacity. It doesn't free you from the draft. I know. And if it's denied, you face the same choice. He says this without judgment. He is a man who understands that some choices have no good options. Father Mike, you say, what would you do? He smiles slightly. I'm a priest. They don't want me. If you weren't. He looks at his coffee. I came from Poland, he says. Left when I was 27 because the communist government was difficult for people who believed what I believed. I know what it is to be asked to do something by a government you believe is wrong. He's quiet for a moment. I would go to Canada. Quietly. He says this with the peace of a man who's made his reckoning. I'm sorry. I would. Thank you. you say. Don't thank me. It's my answer. Yours might be different. He stands. Finish the paperwork. I'll write the letter. He puts a hand briefly on your shoulder, lighter than your father's touch, but no less real. Whatever happens, pray for us. He leaves. You sit at the table for a while. October 2nd. Your good clothes. Grey slacks, white shirt. The blue blazer from Carol's confirmation 2 years ago. Your father stays in the waiting area. 3 board members. An older chairman with glasses. A younger county man your father knows slightly. A woman, about 50, recently appointed, who takes more notes than the others. They've read your paperwork. They ask about religious practice. You answer honestly. Mass, regularly growing up. Irregularly now. Father Mike knows you well. They ask about the CO claims. Specifically, do you oppose all war, or only this war? You answer what you wrote. A belief in the sanctity of human life as a fundamental moral principle. A conviction arrived at through careful consideration that you cannot participate in the taking of lives in a conflict that you cannot, by any framework available to you, justify. Would you have refused service in World War II? The chairman asks. This is the question. You answer. The conditions for just war, right intention, just cause, last resort, proportionality, may have been met in the Second World War. You believe they are not met here. They dismiss you to the hallway. Your father looks up from the newspaper. 10 days, you tell him. They'll decide within 10 days. He nods. You both sit in the waiting room. Outside the window, Mahoning Avenue does what Mahoning Avenue does. Moves, honks, goes about its business, the business of a city. You said what you believe? Your father asks. Yes. That's all you can do, he says. October 11th. The letter comes. The board has evaluated your appeal and found it insufficient. The CO claim, insufficient. The medical note, noted but not determinative. Your induction date is October 14th. You stand in the kitchen holding this letter, the second one, and your mother stands at the counter and your father reads it over your shoulder, and the house is very quiet. Okay, you say. Okay, your father says. 3 days, October 13th. You ask Linda to come for dinner. Your mother makes pot roast. The kind that goes in at noon and comes out at 6, braised in beef broth and onions until the meat dissolves at the touch of a fork. Carol helps set the table and puts out the good cloth napkins, the ones from the drawer that only come out for company and Thanksgiving. Your father opens a bottle of wine, red, Italian, from the liquor store on Glenwood. He's not a wine-drinking man. He bought it anyway. He pours it. 5 glasses, including one for Carol. You all sit down. The table. Your family and Linda at the kitchen table, with the good cloth napkins and the wine and the pot roast. The radiator ticking. The window dark because it's evening. The maple in the front yard invisible in the dark, but there. Your father raises his glass. He doesn't speak for a moment. He's not a man of toasts. Then, to Jimmy, that's all. You all drink. The wine is dry and slightly warm and tastes like something that requires occasions. The meal is very good. The pot roast falls apart in soft strings that absorb the gravy. The mashed potatoes thick with butter and cream. Green beans, fresh ones, blanched, not from a can. You eat slowly, with attention, the way you eat when you want to remember the taste of something. Your mother asks Linda about work. Linda asks your father about the mill. Carol announces she got a part in Oklahoma. Ado Annie, she says, the funny one. She says you should come see it in the spring when you're on leave. Front row, she says. She says this with a particular brightness that is covering something else. Front row, you say. I'll be there. After dinner, you and Linda do the dishes, the same way you did on the night the letter first came. Hot water and yellow soap and too many bubbles. You wash and she dries, and the silence between you is different now. Not the silence of shock, the silence of something understood, something already said. I'll write every day, you say. You won't, she says. That's okay. I'll write a lot. I know. She dries a pot and hangs the dish towel and turns to face you. I'm going to be here, she says, when you come back. I'm not making a dramatic promise. I'm telling you a fact. I love you, and I'm going to be here. She says it matter of fact, the way she says things she's decided. So don't do anything stupid trying to prove something. Come back. That's the plan, you say. Good. She stays until 10. Work tomorrow, the early shift. She puts her coat on at the back door and looks up at you. Hey, she says, you're going to be okay. Yeah. You're going to be okay and you're going to come back and we're going to go to the Italian place. And Sal is going to call you by name. And the veal is going to be cheap and it's going to be fine. Her voice is steady. Her eyes are bright. Okay. Okay, you say. She goes. You stand in the doorway until her car turns off Dearborn Street. October night. Cold now, real full cold. The maple in the street lamp light. Orange-red, fully turned, some of the leaves already down. You go inside. Your room at midnight. Everything the same. The water stain. The model Bel Air on the shelf. 2 pink paint. The birthday card from your 10th birthday, still pinned. The desk with the pen line from when you fell asleep doing geometry. Your bag by the door. It's small. They told you not to bring much. 20 years of a life. You lie on your back. Somewhere. Right now. This exact moment. The war is happening. While you lie in your bed on Dearborn Street, men are in the dark. Moving through places nothing like this street. Afraid in the specific way your father described, not about something that might happen, but about something that's already happening. Mike Polzelli is over there right now, maybe sleeping, maybe not. You close your eyes. The ceiling has a water stain shaped like the state of Michigan. It'll be there when you come back. Your mother won't have painted over it. She'll have meant to, and something else will have come up. It'll still be there. You're going to come back and the stain will still be there and Carol will be in college and Linda will be here. And your father will still be at the mill and the Schwinn will be in the garage. This is what you hold. Not certainty. Certainty would be lying to yourself. But intention. The solid, human, ordinary intention to come back. To eat meatloaf at this table, to sit on the 3rd stool at Mel's counter, to ride the spinach green bike down the street in the morning. Small things, the smallest possible things, things that are, it turns out, everything. In December 1969, the Selective Service System held its first draft lottery since World War II. They put 366 capsules in a drum, one for each day of the year, including February 29th, and drew them out one by one. The first number drawn was September 14th. Anyone born September 14th between 1944 and 1950 was first in line. The last number drawn was June 8th. Anyone born June 8th was assigned 366, and would almost certainly not be called. February 14th came up number 93. Low. You would have been called regardless. You were already at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, sleeping in a barracks with 36 other men from Texas and California and Georgia and Ohio, all 20 years old, all away from home for the first time, all trying to understand what came next. Your father sent you the newspaper article weeks later. The full list of lottery numbers. He'd circled February 14th and written in the margin 93. You would have gone regardless. You looked at that piece of newspaper for a long time. Somewhere, that same night, a boy born on June 8th sat at a kitchen table or a bar or a dorm room, and his number came up 366, and he was safe, and he knew it. You thought, good. I don't know who he is, but good. I'm glad for him. Then you went back to what you were doing, which was learning to be a soldier, because that was what you were doing and there was nothing else. You come home on a Thursday afternoon in February 1971. Greyhound Station on Phelps Street. Your mother, your father, Carol. Carol has grown an inch. She's wearing a coat you don't recognise. She hits you in the shoulder the moment she can reach you and says, "You're so skinny," and then hugs you anyway. Your father shakes your hand and holds it slightly longer than a handshake. His hands, the same. The same grey shadow in the knuckle creases, the same scar between thumb and forefinger. Your mother puts her arms around you. You put your face against her hair, and the smell of her is the kitchen. Coffee and grease and the pine Lysol she uses on the floor. She carries it with her. She always has. You go home. 412 Dearborn Street. White paint going yellow. The maple, February bare, its branches against grey sky. The mailbox, slightly ajar. Inside, the kitchen. Your mother puts a cup of coffee in front of you before you've even sat down. Black, the way you've always drunk it. You wrap both hands around it and feel the warmth come through your palms. The kitchen smells like itself. You're going to call Linda in an hour, but right now you're just sitting in the kitchen with coffee. And that's enough. That is more than enough. You don't sleep the last night. Not properly. You drift in and out of something shallow that isn't rest. A half sleep where you're still aware of the sounds of the house, the radiator, the creak of the second stair where the board has always gone soft. Your mind keeps finding the same edge and turning back from it, the way your tongue finds a sore place in your mouth. The edge is called tomorrow and your mind will not stop touching it. At 4:15 you give up. You get up and sit at the desk where you did homework for 7 years, where you filled out the CO application, where you wrote Linda a letter once that took 4 drafts and still came out wrong. The chair creaks. It's always creaked. A specific left side creak that means someone is sitting in it. You've sat in it so often the creak is indistinguishable from your weight specifically. The desk lamp throws a yellow circle on the surface. You look around the room in that yellow circle. Your stuff. 12 years of accumulated living in one room. The model cars on the shelf. The Bel Air, a 57 Chevy that you were more careful with. A stock car from a kit you started in 9th grade and lost interest in halfway. The pennant from the Indians over the window. The books stacked on the edge of the desk. A paperback Louis L'Amour. A library copy of something Carol made you read. A Bible with a red cover. From confirmation. Your name on the inside cover in your mother's handwriting. There's a photograph on the wall above the desk. You and Pete Danello and Danny McAllister and Mike Polzelli, taken at someone's graduation party, 67 or 68. The 4 of you standing in a yard, squinting into the sun, grinning. You're the one on the left with your arm around Mike's shoulders. Mike Polzelli is in Vietnam right now. You look at this photograph for a while. Then you write Linda a letter. You've been writing these real ones, not the unsent kind, since you got the notice. You have 4 in an envelope already with instructions to your mother to mail one every week, so Linda will have something coming regularly. but you want one more. The pen scratches on the legal pad, a slightly dull point. You should have sharpened it. It catches on the paper in a way that is not quite unpleasant. Something about the resistance of it. You write in the yellow circle, Linda, it's 4:30 in the morning and I can't sleep, and I'm sitting at my desk writing this, which I'll give to my mother before I leave. By the time you read this, everything will already have started. I don't know how to finish this sentence. You always know how to finish things better than I do. I'm going to the Italian place when I come back. Front row at Carol's play. The plan is simple and I'm holding it. Thank you for Friday night. Thank you for the last 5 months. Thank you for the table and the 3 things you said and the way you said them. See you in a while. Jimmy. You fold it and write her name on the outside and set it on the desk where your mother will find it. 5:15. You wash your face. Cold water from the faucet. The hot takes a minute to come in the mornings and you're not waiting. The cold hits your face like a flat hand, jolting, clarifying. You stand over the sink and feel your heart beat through your palms on the edge of the porcelain. The face in the mirror again. The same face as last week, same jaw, same grey eyes. It looks the same. Everything you feel on the inside hasn't changed the face yet. You don't know if that's good or just how faces work. You brush your teeth. You get dressed. The clothes you laid out yesterday on the chair, dark slacks, white shirt, not the work clothes, not quite good clothes either. Something in between. Something you might wear to a job interview. The small bag by the door. You've checked it 4 times. Change of clothes, toothbrush, a book for waiting, $7 in your wallet, your draft card, your social security card, your birth certificate, the actual one, stamped and certified. Everything they told you to bring. Nothing extra. You sit on the edge of the bed, the water stain on the ceiling. Michigan, with its strange lower growth. You've been looking at that stain for 3 years. You'll look at it again when you come back and it'll still be there. And it will still look like Michigan. And maybe you'll finally fix it because when you come back, you'll be the one who can climb a ladder without your mother worrying and you'll patch it yourself in an afternoon. This is what you decide sitting there in the dark. A small plan, a specific future. Fix the stain. Your father is in the kitchen at 5:30. He's already dressed, work clothes, which means he's going to the mill after. He has the coffee going and he's standing at the window looking out at the dark backyard, his hands in his pockets. He doesn't say anything when you come in. You pour coffee. He pours more. You stand at the window beside him. The yard is dark. The oak tree at the back fence just a shape. Somewhere an early bird, some species your father might know by sound, you never learned bird sounds the way he did, makes a single quiet note and goes silent again. Cold morning, he says. Yeah. Should have the jacket. I've got it. A pause. The coffee's too hot to drink, but you hold it anyway for the warmth through the mug. I'm going to tell you something practical, he says. Okay. Keep your head down, not literally. I mean, don't make enemies in the first month. Don't stand out. Don't be the guy who talks too much or the guy who talks too little. Find the middle. Find one person who seems solid and stay close to them. You did this. I did this in Korea. Tommy Purcell, the one who told the funny stories. He pauses. He was that person for 8 months. A pause. I know how that ended, you say quietly. Yeah, he's quiet. So find someone solid and stay close, but know that the world doesn't promise you things about solid people. He says this without self-pity, just the level fact of it. Do your work. Don't volunteer for anything unless you think you'd actually be good at it. Eat when you can. Sleep when you can. Okay. And write to your mother. She's not going to ask you to. She's not going to say anything. But write. I know. Every week at minimum. I know, Dad. He nods, drinks his coffee. Your mother comes downstairs at 5:45. She's dressed, hair done, coat already on, as if she's been ready for a while, as if she dressed upstairs in the dark so she'd be ready. She sets eggs going on the stove. I'm not hungry, you say. I know, she says. Sit down. She makes them anyway. 2 over easy. Toast. The toaster burns the left side and you eat it. Burned side and all. Carol comes down at 5:52, hair loose, still in her housecoat, having apparently decided she wasn't going to miss this even at 6 in the morning. She doesn't say anything. She gets a glass of orange juice and sits beside you and hands it to you and watches you drink it. Give it back, she says. You gave it to me. I changed my mind. It's my orange juice. But she doesn't reach for it. You drink it. The kitchen at 5:55 in the morning. October. The radiator ticking, going from room to room through the pipes. The smell of eggs and coffee and toast. Your family around the table. The window dark outside, the maple invisible. The world not yet started. You eat your eggs. The walk to the car is very short. Your father drives. Your mother is in the front seat. You and Carol in the back, and Carol's shoulder against yours in the cold of the car, and you don't move away from it. 11 North Phelps Street. The Armed Forces Examining and Entrance Station is a building you've passed 100 times. A government plain building, federal architecture, which means stone and columns and a quality of saying permanent. You're not permanent. Governments are permanent. That's what federal architecture says. At 6:20 there are already men outside. Young men, your age, give or take, in the particular look of Tuesday mornings. Slightly formal, slightly dazed, some of them smoking, some of them standing with their families, some of them alone. Your father parks on Phelps, a moment in the car. I'll see you at the bus, you say. It's not entirely a question. You know the drill by now. There's a bus from this building to Fort Campbell, and it leaves at 9, and your family knows this. We'll be at the bus, your mother says. That's all. You get out. The air is cold. Sharp October morning cold. A clarity that is particular to this season, where the air has been cleaned by the dropping temperature and hasn't yet filled with whatever the day will fill it with. You breathe it in and it goes all the way down. Carol comes round the car. She punches you in the shoulder. Hard. Ow, you say. Come back, she says. Then she goes back to the car, gets in, doesn't look out the window. You shoulder the small bag and walk toward the building. The waiting room. Fluorescent light. Chairs along the walls. Those particular government chairs. Orange plastic seats. Steel legs. The kind designed not to be comfortable for too long. The floor is institutional tile in a tan that becomes grey in the light. The scuffs and scratches of 10,000 pairs of shoes worn into it over years. 40, 50 men. All in the same age range. That particular demographic of 1969 America. The boys whose lottery numbers or whose draft boards or whose appeals didn't hold. They come in all the varieties that working-class American cities produce, white and black, and the several European descent ethnicities of industrial Ohio. Most of them are from Youngstown or Boardman or Campbell or Niles. This is the board's catchment area. You find a chair near the window. The man next to you is reading a paperback, something with a fighter jet on the cover. He's reading it with genuine attention, the way people read things they're actually invested in. which seems either a very good or a very alarming thing to be able to do at this moment. Good book, you ask. He looks up, about your age, dark complexioned, strong jaw, the hands of someone who works with them. It's okay. He pauses. You Jimmy Kowalski? Dearborn Street? You look at him. He looks familiar in the way that everyone from a specific city eventually looks familiar. Overlapping social webs, the same schools, the same parishes, the same corners. Yeah. Danny Cimino. My aunt lives 2 streets over from your family. I used to play ball at McGuffey Park. You remember, not Danny specifically. The face is just at the edge of recognition. But the park, the games, the particular geography of a shared childhood. Danny Cimino, you say. Yeah. He goes back to his book, then doesn't. You nervous? A little. I'm nervous. He says it matter of fact. Not ashamed to say it. I'm nervous. Yeah. My brother did this. 67. He's home now. Works at the wire factory. A pause. He's okay. He's mostly okay. You think about mostly. That's good, you say. Yeah. He closes the book. He told me, don't think about it too much. Just do the next thing. Whatever the next thing is, just do that. The overhead light hums. Someone across the room is laughing with a friend. The laugh slightly too loud, calibrated to cover something. Do the next thing, you say. That's what he said. The processing takes 4 hours. This is what the government does to you before it puts you on a bus. Paperwork. Forms in triplicate. The carbon paper between them producing a faint chemical smell. Your name and number and blood type and next of kin pressed through 3 layers of paper by the weight of a government pen. The pen is attached to the counter by a chain, as if someone once walked off with it and now nobody gets to. Medical. A room with 6 other men, various states of undress, a doctor, or maybe a nurse. The distinction isn't entirely clear, moving efficiently down the line with a clipboard. Blood pressure cuff tight on your arm, the squeeze and the hiss as it releases. Hearing test, a small room, a tone in each ear. Raise your hand when you hear it. The tone is very high and slightly uncomfortable. Vision test, the chart, with the letters shrinking. The eye that's slightly weaker than the other one has always been this way. The shoulder. The doctor notes it in your file. Rotator cuff, partial tear, 1966. He moves his pen across the page. Any pain currently? Sometimes. On a scale? 3, 4 sometimes. He makes a note. Whether this note means anything, you don't know. It goes into the file and the file goes somewhere. Dental. Open. The dentist counts across your teeth with a metal tool, the cold tap of it on enamel. Each tooth assigned a number in a file. Photographs, front and side. The flash goes off and you stand there and your face becomes part of a file. Fingerprints. The ink roller, then the card, then each finger pressed and rolled precisely. The ridges of you made permanent on government paper. At each station you are processed efficiently, not unkindly, but not with warmth. The way a system that handles volume processes individual items, correctly, quickly, without personal investment. You are a case number. This is appropriate. You understand this is appropriate. The system cannot afford to know your name. Danny Cimino is 2 stations behind you through most of it. At the fingerprinting table, you end up side by side. Do the next thing, he says quietly, pressing his index finger to the card. Yeah, you say, pressing yours. Then, the oath. A room with enough chairs for everyone and a man in uniform at the front. An officer, the insignia you don't yet know well enough to read, and he reads the oath, and you repeat it together. 40 men in a government room on Phelps Street. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The words are serious words, formal words. They've been said in rooms like this one in various forms since before this country was the shape it currently is. Boys in 1776 said something like this. Boys in 1917 said this. Your father said this in February 1952. You say it. The words come out of you and they are real, and you mean them in the way you can mean something while still not being entirely sure what it will cost you. So help me God. A pause. Then the officer says, Congratulations, you're members of the United States Army. The room is quiet for a moment. Then someone, it's the man who was laughing earlier, the too loud laugh, starts clapping. Nobody joins in. But somebody smiles. The bus board's at 9. You have 20 minutes. Your family's outside. The October air. Your father, hands in his pockets, standing slightly back the way he does. Your mother, who takes your face in both hands when she sees you come out. Both her palms against your cheekbones, the warmth of them, looking at you closely, the way you might look at something you want to memorize. She doesn't say anything. She doesn't have to. She holds your face for a moment and then lets go, and she takes a small breath, and that's the most control you've ever seen anyone exercise over a large emotion in a small public space. Right, she says. Every week, you say. Carol has brought a paper bag. I made you food, she says, for the bus. Carol, it's not from me, it's from Mum. I just wrapped it. She shoves the bag at you. There's a sandwich and cookies and an apple. Don't eat the apple first, you always do that. Eat the sandwich first. How do you know I eat the apple first? Because you do. You always have. I don't know why. She shrugs elaborately, covering the fact that she's 16 and her brother is getting on a bus and she has nowhere to put this feeling except in an apple. Eat the sandwich first. Okay, you say. Okay. She looks at you. Her eyes are entirely dry. This has cost her something. I'll save you front row. You hug her. She hugs back hard enough to make something in your chest ache, and then she steps back and looks away, at Market Street or the sky or some middle distance. That is the particular territory of people trying not to cry. Your father extends his hand. You take it. The shake is firm. It lasts longer than a handshake, the way his hand on your shoulder lasted longer than a shoulder touch. He puts his left hand over yours briefly. His hands, the calluses, the scar, the permanent grey shadow of the work. Your hands, which are starting to look like his. He looks at you. Do your work, he says. Come home. That's all. It's exactly enough. The bus, Green Army bus, seats that are vinyl over a thin cushion. The vinyl torn in places and repaired with duct tape that has itself started to peel. The window you're at has a small crack running from the seal, and the cold comes through it at the speed of the bus. 40 men. The bus smells of 50 years of this, the specific institutional smell of transporting people somewhere they are required to go. A faint overlay of cleaning solution, and the accumulated ghost smell of all the other men who've sat in these seats going to similar things. Danny Semino gets the seat across the aisle. You're eating that apple first, aren't you? He says. You're eating the sandwich. No, you say. He grins. The bus pulls out of the parking lot. North Phelps Street, then West Federal, then the on-ramp to I-680, headed south. The city moves past the cracked window. The familiar streets at an unfamiliar angle. The backs of buildings you know the fronts of, the river visible briefly glinting in the October light. The steel mills. From the highway, from this angle. the scale of them. You've driven past your father's mill 100 times, but you've never seen the complex from this elevation, from this distance, all of it at once. The towers, the smoke rising in a thick column, bending slightly east in the wind, the glow of the furnaces visible even in morning light. This city, this making things city. Your grandfather came here for this, for the work, for the chance to build something out of labour and time. You watch it until the highway curves and the trees come up and it's gone. Then you eat the apple. This is what basic training is, not an idea. The actual thing in the body. First morning, 5 a.m. and a sound that enters your sleep like a physical blow. A man very close, shouting with a volume that seems physiologically improbable, and you are vertical before you have processed what the sound is or decided to respond to it. Your feet hit the floor. Cold, concrete floor of the barracks, the cold coming up through your socks, and you stand swaying slightly in the dark while your eyes adapt and your brain assembles the situation. Fort Campbell, Kentucky. October 17th, day 2. 36 men in this barracks. 2 rows of bunks. Danny Semino is on the upper bunk directly above yours, which is either lucky or unlucky depending on whether he moves in his sleep, which he does. You dress in 70 seconds. This sounds impossible, but the army teaches you quickly that it's not only possible but expected, and the alternative to possible is doing push-ups in the cold in your underwear, which nobody wants. The uniform is olive drab, heavy cotton, the kind that holds its shape but is rough against your collar until the fabric softens, which takes 2 weeks. Boots that are stiff from newness, laced in the army manner, which is not how anyone laces boots in civilian life, and the lacing matters. They will check it. Then outside. The morning air at Fort Campbell is cold and slightly damp, a different damp from Ohio, carrying the Tennessee-Kentucky particular version of October, which is not worse or better than Youngstown October, just different. Different soil smell, different water, the specific flatness of the land compared to the Mahoning Valley's hills. You stand in formation. Formation is standing in a specific place and being still about it. This is harder than it sounds at 5 in the morning in the cold. Your feet find the position, shoulder width, weight even, and you breathe. The drill sergeant is a man named Hutchins. He is a compact man. Everything about him is compact. The shoulders, the jaw, the way he moves, which is with the total economy of someone who has eliminated all unnecessary motion from his life. He's been a drill sergeant for 6 years. He's done this same thing to different groups of men every 8 weeks since 1963. He is extremely good at it. Listen up, Hutchins says. He doesn't need to shout anymore. He said what he needed to say with volume an hour ago. Now he speaks at normal volume, which has the paradoxical effect of carrying further. What you were before you got on that bus is gone. I don't care. I don't want to know. Your job for the next 8 weeks is to learn to be a soldier. Some of you will be good at it. Some of you will be less good at it. Every single one of you will be better at it than you are right now. That is a fact, and not an opinion. A pause. You want to know what I want from you? I want you awake. I want you where you're supposed to be. I want you doing exactly what I tell you when I tell you. If you do those 3 things, we'll get along fine. He walks the line. If you don't, he stops in front of a man 3 down from you. If you don't, we'll find out what you're actually made of. He walks on. He stops in front of you. He's looking at your boots. You become aware of your boots in a way you have never been aware of boots before in your life. You are acutely conscious of your lacing. He moves on. Later, Danny Semino will tell you that Hutchins stopped in front of him too, and that the experience was, he says, like being looked at by a hawk. A hawk that can give you push-ups, you say. That's the worst kind of hawk, Danny says. This is the first thing that makes both of you laugh at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And it's a real laugh, not the too loud kind. The small kind. The kind that means you've found someone in the middle distance who sees things the same way you do. Danny Semino. Do the next thing. Your father's advice and Danny's brother's advice were the same advice. You stay close. Here is what your hands learn in the first 3 weeks. The rifle. M16A1. The Army's standard since '67. The replacement for the M14. It weighs 7.9 pounds loaded, which sounds like nothing until you've carried it at Port Arms for 8 hours, and then it weighs exactly enough to make your forearms ache and your shoulder sore. The finish is a flat black that absorbs heat from the sun in a way the previous rifles didn't. You field strip it. This means taking it apart completely on a table in 60 seconds in the order they've shown you and reassembling it in the same time. Receiver, bolt carrier group, charging handle, bolt, firing pin, cam pin. The parts have a specific weight and a specific feel, the metal cold and slightly oily, the polymer of the handguard slightly rough from the moulding process. The first time takes 4 minutes and you get the firing pin backwards. The fourth time takes 90 seconds. The 10th time takes 55 seconds, and you do it without looking. Your hands learn things separately from your brain. This is genuinely remarkable. The first time you notice it, your hands know something your brain hasn't fully processed yet. They know the sequence, the weight, the resistance of the spring, the angle of insertion. They know this the way they know the strap wrench and the drain plug and the specific torque of a correctly tightened oil filter. This is the physical knowledge of training. They want your body to know these things. They want your body to do them in the dark, in rain, when you're afraid. Your brain is too slow. Your hands need to know. Your hands learn. Running. 4 miles a day, minimum. You've never run 4 miles consecutively in your life. The first week you finish and stand bent over with your hands on your knees, the world briefly narrowed to the sound of your own breathing, the specific high-pitched whistle of air through a throat that has been asked for more than it was prepared for. Your thighs ache. Not the pleasant tiredness of a long day's work. A deeper ache. The specific soreness of muscles being rebuilt, their fibers deliberately stressed and allowed to heal and stressed again. This is what the body does when you ask it for more than it's given. It gives more. By the 3rd week you finish the 4 miles and feel something that isn't quite good. Your legs still burn, your lungs still push, but that is the absence of the previous anguish. The body has renegotiated its terms. The floor has risen. By the 5th week you finish and feel clear. This is not what you expected. You expected endurance training to be about will, about making yourself keep going when everything hurts, and it is that. But it is also, this is the part nobody tells you, it is also about the body discovering that it contains more than it thought, that the limit you believed in was provisional. You think about this, running in the cold Kentucky morning, your father's hands, your father's back doing 22 years of physical labour, the body expanding to meet what is asked of it, becoming over time the version of itself that the work requires. This is what he is, you think. This is what he's always been doing every morning, going to the mill, meeting the work. 3 weeks in, a letter from Linda. You read it on your bunk in the 20 minutes after lights on and before formation. Her handwriting. Small, slightly left-leaning, the Y with a long tail. The paper smells like paper and faintly like her house, which may be your imagination. Probably is, but you keep it anyway. October 29th. Jimmy, your mother gave me your address and said to write, so here I am writing. It's strange to write a letter. I don't think I've written an actual letter since 6th grade, when Sister Benedetti made us write thank you notes to the parish for the Christmas pageant costumes. I wrote hers in 15 minutes and got a check plus and decided I was the smartest person at St. Stan's. This is what I'm starting with, so, I'm fine and nothing is wrong and this is just going to be a letter. Carol got the part she wanted. She's been doing her lines around the house, and your mother looks like she's deciding whether to be charmed or exhausted by this, and she keeps landing on charmed. Your father smiles at the kitchen table when he thinks nobody's watching. The fabric department at Kmart moved the fleece section, and I spent an entire Thursday reorganizing it, and then my manager moved it back and didn't say why. This is the most dramatic thing that has happened to me lately. I keep the plan. Italian place. Front row. Sal calls you by name. The veal is cheap. I hold the plan. Are you eating enough? Don't answer that. I know the army feeds you. Are you sleeping? Don't answer that either. I know the army has opinions about when you sleep. Here is what I actually want to say. I'm proud of you. I know that sounds like something people's mothers say, but I don't mean it that way. I mean, I've known you since April, and I know how you think about things, and I know that every day there you is a decision to do the work, not just get through it. I don't think you know that I can see that. You probably think you're just surviving, but there's a difference between surviving and meeting the thing, and I think you know which one you're doing. Come back in one piece. Linda, you fold the letter along its crease and put it in the inside pocket of your jacket. You carry it through the next 5 weeks. A letter to your mother. November 14th, 1969. Dear Mom, week 5. I'm running faster than I thought I could, and my hands know things my brain didn't teach them. I'm okay. I'm good, actually, which surprises me. There's a guy named Danny Cimino who I think you might know, through his aunt on Dearborn, Antonucci, 2 streets over. He's good, solid. He told me to do the next thing, and it turns out that's the best advice I've gotten in my life, which is maybe funny, because I've gotten a lot of advice lately. The food here is institutional. It's what you'd expect. It's not your meatloaf, but it's there and there's enough of it. I think about the kitchen. I think about Tuesday mornings. Think about the way the radiator comes on in the fall. I'm okay. I'll write again next week. Jimmy P.S. Don't forget the stain is there. I'm going to fix it when I'm home. Don't let anyone paint over it before I get there. Here is where the story gets harder. Not because I want to frighten you, but because the story requires honesty, and you are here to experience things, and this is what it was. So I'll tell it, and I'll tell it the way it actually was, which is not a movie, not dramatic every moment. Mostly, this is what soldiers always say, looking back, mostly ordinary, with intervals of something else. The ordinary was the hardest part, because the ordinary kept not being ordinary in unpredictable ways. You arrive in country. February 1970. The plane. Chartered commercial. 707. carrying 200 men from Travis Air Force Base in California to Tan Son Nhut Air Base, just outside Saigon. The flight is 18 hours with the stop in Hawaii. You sit by the window on the left side. Pacific Ocean for hours, vast and flat and blue, and you think, the watermen's sons in 1600 felt this, the first time they saw the ocean. This unscalable thing, this thing you cannot walk across, this thing that simply continues until it becomes somewhere else. Vietnam comes up under the clouds and it's green. That's the first thing. You expected brown somehow, something burned and beaten. But from altitude it's very green. The paddies, the jungle, the coast. A green so saturated it seems almost unreal. The green of a place where rain is not a seasonal event but a permanent atmospheric condition, where everything that can grow is growing at maximum speed. Then the plane drops toward the runway, and the door opens and the heat comes in. The heat is a different thing than Ohio heat. Ohio summer heat is a warm blanket, heavy and still. This is the tropics. This is air that has passed over ocean and land and the breathing of a million trees, and it is hot and wet simultaneously in a way that is not weather so much as being inside something living. You come down the stairs from the plane, and the heat closes around you like a fist, and you think, this is it then. This is where you are. The smell. Here is the smell of Vietnam, and I'm telling you this not because it's pleasant, but because the smell is part of what soldiers remember most, and because smell is the thing that memory holds longest, and because honesty requires it. Jet fuel and red dirt. Something sweet and slightly rotten that turns out to be the particular fermentation smell of very fast tropical decomposition. Things that are alive very quickly, becoming other things here. Diesel from the trucks. Kerosene smoke from cooking fires in the villages nearby. Rice paddies, which smell of water and mud, and the particular organic richness of flooded earth. And underneath everything, all of it, the rain smell. Because it has been raining. And everything here that can absorb water has absorbed water. The red dirt, when it dries slightly, goes the colour of rust. When it's wet, which is most of the time in this season, it goes the colour and consistency of brick red clay, and it sticks to everything. Your boots, within a day, are red. The hem of your uniform, red. You learn the smell of this place. Your body files it in the deep storage that bodies keep for things that matter. The brain catalogues smells at the level below language, below decision, in the place where warning systems live. You won't smell anything like this for the rest of your life without something happening in your chest. The specifics of your days. You're not in the infantry. This matters. You should understand this. By some functioning of the classification system, the shoulder, your aptitude scores, the specific needs of your unit at the specific time of your arrival, you are assigned to a transportation unit. You drive trucks. Specifically, a 2.5-ton M35 cargo truck that has been in service since 1962 and shows it. You come to know this truck in intimate mechanical detail. The way the clutch catches high in the pedal, the specific shimmy in the wheel at 55 miles per hour, the wind wing on the passenger side that won't quite latch and flaps in the slipstream at highway speeds, the constant underlayer of sound, the engine note, the gear whine, the rattle of the cargo bed over rough road. You learn this country through this truck. Routes, distances, the particular character of each road, which ones are paved, which are later at gravel, which become impassable in heavy rain, the villages you pass through, the women in conical hats in the paddies, The children, always children at the roadsides, watching the trucks go by with the particular frankness of children who have grown up watching this. The work is driving, supply runs, material from base to forward positions, back again. The monotony of it, which is its own form of difficulty, the specific exhaustion of attention sustained over time, the state of being always watching, always reading the road ahead and the roadsides, because this is where things happen, and everyone knows it, and you don't discuss it much, because discussing it continuously would make the monotony unendurable. You drive. Your hands on the wheel develop the specific callus pattern of wheel gripping over long distances, different from the calluses from the Schwinn, different from the bay at Buckeye Gas and Tyre. The ball of your right palm where the shift knob sits, the left palm along the wheel at 10 o'clock. Your hands become your job. There are moments. 2, I'll tell you one. A convoy, March 1970. 8 trucks on a secondary road in Tainan province moving north. The road is red laterite, and the rain of the previous days has dried the top layer into a crust that breaks under the tyres, and the dust rises behind each truck in a red cloud that is visible from the air, and you're thinking about this, about visibility. When the road in front of the lead truck does something, what it does is stop being a road. An instant, one frame to the next, the front of the lead truck disappears into something, not an explosion, something more complicated, the road giving way. And the sound is enormous, and you are already hitting the brakes, and the dust is all wrong, and then you're stopped. Full stop. Danny Semino, in the truck directly behind you, stops 6 feet from your rear bumper. Afterward, 10 seconds, 20 seconds, the sequence is permanently scrambled in your memory. It's an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade. The lead truck took it and did not burn, which is very lucky, which is the kind of luck that doesn't feel like luck for days, because your body is still running the version where it went differently. Hutchins told you, the body is already running a version where you do something before you've decided to do it. You're out of the truck. Your rifle, which your hands know. Danny Semino is beside you. The 8 minutes that follow are the 8 minutes that the rest of your life will occasionally come back to. Not every day, not every week. At odd moments, doing dishes, riding somewhere in a car at night, trying to sleep. The specific smell of cordite and red dust and something burning. The convoy gets through. Nobody in your truck is hurt. The lead driver has a laceration on his forearm from glass and a concussion. He goes home 3 weeks later with a Purple Heart. You don't talk about it much. There isn't a framework that makes talking about it easy. The events that have no natural language around them wait in the body until the body decides, on its own schedule, how to process them. You write to Linda that week. You don't describe what happened. You write, I drove another supply run today. The country is very green. I've been thinking about the Italian place. She writes back, I'm holding the plan. You put a letter in your jacket pocket. You fly home on a Thursday afternoon, February 1971, Travis Air Force Base, then a connection that routes through Cincinnati, then the Greyhound station in Youngstown, the Greyhound station, your mother, your father, Carol. I told you about this already, toward the beginning, but let me tell you it again more slowly because it deserves more than a paragraph. The bus pulls in. You stand from your seat and your legs are stiff from the sitting, the specific ache of long travel. You shoulder your bag and move down the aisle toward the door, and the people ahead of you are slow and you're trying not to push. Then the door. then the steps, then the floor of the Greyhound station, Youngstown, Ohio. February 12th, 1971. 40 degrees, grey. The specific grey of Ohio February, which is the grey of concrete and low cloud, and having been cold for months with no end yet in sight. The most beautiful grey you have ever seen in your life. Your mother. She finds you before you find her, which she could always do. She had a sense of you in a room that was simply a spatial awareness, an animal competence. You're still in uniform and she comes through the waiting area, and she is already reaching before you've actually stopped moving, and then her hands are on your face again, both palms against your cheekbones, and she is saying something that isn't quite words yet, or is words that are so compressed by everything they've been holding that they come out slightly wordless. You put your arms around her, the smell of her coat, winter wool, and her perfume, which is Chanel No. 5, the small bottle that lives on the bureau that your father gives her every Christmas without exception, because she wore it on their first date in 1946 and has worn it every day since. That smell contains your childhood. That smell is the specific smell of safety, which you only fully understand the specific smell of when you've been somewhere unsafe. You hold on. She holds on. Your father behind her. He waits. He's good at waiting. The patience of someone who spent a career at a pace that isn't his own, who has learned to let things arrive in their time. When your mother steps back, he's there. His hand. You take it. He holds it the way he held it at the station in October, left hand over yours, slightly longer than a handshake. He looks at you, not checking you over, not the clinical look of someone assessing for damage, the look of someone looking at a person, at you specifically. Done, he says. Just that. Done. It has its own completeness. Yeah, you say. Carol. She punches your shoulder. Same arm, she says. What? Same arm I punched last time, so it evens out. That's not how that works. You're so skinny. How are you that skinny? They fed you. You told Mom they fed you. Carol. I saved front row, she says. I told everyone. I said my brother's coming home, save front row. The drama teacher asked who my brother was. I told her. She says this like, and that settles it. You're coming to Oklahoma. I'm coming to Oklahoma, you say. She grabs the strap of your bag off your shoulder. I'll carry it, she says. You just got home. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. She already has it. You're so skinny, she says again, walking ahead toward the exit. It's annoying. I ate everything this winter, and you went to Vietnam and got skinny. That's unfair. Your father puts his hand briefly between your shoulder blades as you walk, just briefly, guiding you home, your first morning home. The alarm goes off at 7. You lie there for a moment in the particular confusion of returning. The ceiling is wrong, too low, too familiar. It's the right ceiling. It's your ceiling. Michigan is up there in its corner. The radiator is going. The light through the window is Ohio February light, which is the specific grey of a sky that is thinking about snow. You are home. This takes a moment to settle. You're on Dearborn Street. You're in your bed. Michigan is on the ceiling. Carol is sleeping across the hall. Your parents are downstairs and coffee is going. You can smell it through the floor, the specific Folgers smell of your father's coffee, which announces itself through the house the way nothing else does. You lie there and breathe. The particular sensation of this, morning in your childhood bed, the familiar weight and smell of these sheets, which your mother has been changing and washing regularly while you are gone, because that is what your mother does with things she loves. She tends to them in your absence so they're ready when you return. Outside, a car goes by, then silence, then a bird. February bird. Something that winters here. A sparrow or a starling, the ones that don't leave. You get up. The floor is cold under your feet, linoleum cool and slightly tacky. Your jeans are on the chair. You dress in the dark. Then you stop, stand in the middle of the room and just stand there for a moment. 70-second dressing is for other places and other mornings. This morning has no formation, no Hutchins, no roll call, no rifle to account for. You dress at whatever pace you like. This takes approximately 3 minutes. Then you go downstairs, the kitchen. Your father at the table with his coffee, his newspaper. He looks up. Morning, morning. You pour a cup. Sit down at your chair, the left side, closest to the window. Outside, the yard. The oak tree at the back fence, bare February branches, the dark shape of it against the grey sky. The bird you heard, a starling you think with the iridescent winter plumage, sits on the fence post and looks at nothing. Your father reads his paper, you drink your coffee, the radiator ticks. This is the sound of home, this specific sound. Water moving through pipes, metal expanding, the domestic machinery of warmth. You've heard it every fall and winter of your life, and you know it so well, it's become invisible. But this morning it is briefly visible again. The way things become briefly visible when you've been away from them and come back. The tick, the tick, the tick. There's eggs, your father says without looking up. Yeah, okay. He sets the paper down and goes to the stove. You watch him. 51 years old. His back to you at the stove, broad through the shoulders still. The back of a man who has worked with his body for 30 years, who carries it the way working bodies are carried, as a tool first and a comfort second. He cracks eggs into the cast iron pan with one hand, the way he's always done it. And the whites begin to set at the edges and the smell comes up immediately, the bacon grease smell, the specific morning smell of this kitchen. He sets the plate down in front of you. 2 over easy. He goes back to his coffee. You pick up your fork. The yolk breaks. It runs yellow across the white. You mop it up with a toast. You call Linda at 9. She answers on the second ring. Jimmy. Hi. A pause. Just a beat. Then, you're home? I'm home. Are you okay? Are you actually okay? Yeah, you say, and you mean it. Not as a polite answer, as a true one. I'm actually okay. Good. A long breath. Good. Another pause. I'm at work until 5. I know. After 5. After 5, you say. The Italian place, she says. The Italian place. Tell Sal I'm coming. Tell him I want the veal. She laughs. It's the laugh you've been hearing in your memory for the last 14 months. The laugh before you're sure the thing is funny. The trusting laugh. It comes through the receiver exactly the way you remembered it. Nothing has changed it. Nothing could. I'll tell him, she says. I'll tell him you're back and you want the veal. Tell him to save the booth. He'll save the booth. Okay, you say. Okay, she says. 5:30. 5:30. At noon you walk to the garage, the Schwinn. It's leaning against the wall where you left it. 14 months of sitting. The tyres are flat. The inner tubes have slowly leaked in the cold, and there's a fine layer of October to February dust on the frame, the spinach green paint showing underneath. You take it out into the driveway. The tyre pump is on the wall where it's always been, on the hook between the rakes and the shovel. You pump the rear tyre first, working the handle. hearing the hiss of air going in, watching the tyre round out from its flat slump. The pump handle has a specific resistance, the slight bounce at the end of the stroke. Your hands know this. They know the pump, the tool, the specific mechanical work of it. You pump the rear tyre to pressure, then the front. You spin the rear wheel. The derailleur makes its usual sticking complaint in the cold. You work the shifter back and forth until it loosens. You put your leg over the saddle, the cracked leather under your jeans. The tape is peeling more now. One of the peeled corners trying to fold back. You push off, down the driveway, then onto Dearborn Street. February cold. The air clean and sharp and carrying the slight sulphur edge of the mills from the north. The street bare under the tyres, some grit from the last salting. You pedal. Your legs find the cadence they've always used on this bike, on this street. The slight shimmy in the rear wheel where the true has gone slightly off, always been there, probably always will be. Dearborn to Kenmore, Kenmore to Glenwood, the familiar route. St. Stanislaus on the corner, the sign out front, pray for our boys in Vietnam. You stop, get off the bike and stand there. The sign is the same sign, the same board, the same letters, but 3 names have become 2 because one of them, you don't know which one, has come home. And beside the original 3, 4 more names have been added in new paint. You read them. 2 you know, 2 you don't. You stand there for a minute with the bike leaning against your leg and the February air coming off the street. Then you get back on. Glenwood to Kenmore, Kenmore to Dearborn, the route reversed, the stiffness in the derailleur loosening as the bike warms up. Home, 5:30. The Italian place on South Avenue. Sal is behind the counter when you come in. He's 50-something, has been here forever, round face and close-cut grey hair, and the apron he always wears, white with a tomato red stain along the bottom edge that may be permanent or may be tonight's sauce or maybe both. He looks up. A beat. Jimmy Kowalski. He says this with the quality of a man stating a fact that makes him happy. I heard. Your girlfriend called. Yeah. She said you want the veal. Yeah. He points at a booth. Second from the window, she called it. You go to the booth. The table has a red and white checked cloth and a candle in a Chianti bottle. The menu is laminated, 4 pages, the same it's been since your mother brought you here at age 8. The booth seat is cracked vinyl, tufted with age, comfortable in the way things are comfortable when they have been shaped by use. You sit. The restaurant smells of tomato and olive oil and garlic, which is the smell of every Tuesday night your family came here, of birthdays and graduations and the occasional Sunday after Mass when your mother declared she wasn't cooking. You look at the menu you already know. At 5:42 the door opens. Linda. Dark coat, dark hair, her face when she walks in scanning the room, and then finding you, the specific way a person's face changes when they find the thing they are looking for, the settling of it. She crosses the restaurant. She slides into the booth across from you. She looks at you. Hi, she says. Hi, you say. A pause. The veal's on special, she says. Sal told me on the phone. Good. And the antipasto's different. They changed it. Different how? More peppers, fewer olives. Sal always puts too few olives. He really does, she says. You look at each other, and then she puts her hand on the table, flat, palm up. You put yours on top of it. The candle flame moves slightly in the warm air of the restaurant. Outside the window, South Avenue does what South Avenue does. Sal brings water and bread and asks if you want wine, and you say yes, and the wine comes, and you drink it in the booth by the window on South Avenue in Youngstown, Ohio. Come back wine, come home wine. The specific taste of a plan kept. Okay, that's the story. All of it. Not just the hour before and the hour after. The whole shape. Because the hour before doesn't mean what it means unless you can see what it became, and the coming back is the part that makes the before complete. James Kowalski, Dearborn Street. He fixed the stain. August 1972, on a Saturday morning, while Linda was at the fabric department and Carol was at college in Columbus. He borrowed a ladder from next door and spent an afternoon with plaster compound and a putty knife and 2 coats of flat white paint. The stain is gone. Michigan is gone. The ceiling is just a ceiling. He stood at the bottom of the ladder looking up at the smooth white ceiling and felt for about 30 seconds that something was missing. Then he put the ladder away and that feeling went away too. The room is just a room now. His room. You're somewhere now, in your somewhere. Your ceiling, your sounds, whatever they are. The heat moving through your walls, the sounds from outside, the refrigerator in the kitchen, the breathing of whoever or whatever is sleeping nearby. These sounds are yours. You know them the way Jimmy Kowalski knew the tick of the radiator, the creak of the second stair. You've been living with these sounds long enough that they've stopped being sounds and become the texture of your silence. Let them settle now. The thinking of the day, wherever it went, whatever it held, let it slow down. The body has worked. The body has moved through time and kept everything running, the way it always does, without being asked. Your heart has beaten approximately 100,000 times today without consulting you. You've been held up all day by a body that knows how to do its work. Let it rest now. Let the hands be still. The hands that have spent today on keyboards or tools or steering wheels or children or whatever your Tuesday holds, let them rest on the blanket. Open, fingers loose. Just rest. There are Tuesdays happening right now. Not in 1969. Right now. Someone's kitchen, late enough. The last light on in the house. Coffee going cold on the counter because someone forgot it. A kid's drawings on the refrigerator held up with magnets from places that used to mean something. Someone lying awake doing the arithmetic of things, adding up what's owed, what's uncertain, what tomorrow requires. Someone just home from something, standing in their kitchen with their coat still on, just standing, not ready yet to take off the coat, because taking off the coat means the day is over, and the day was hard, and there's something in the between that they want to stay in for one more minute. All of that is happening right now, and all of it is the ordinary, the magnificent ordinary Tuesday of it. The eggs and the coffee and the derailleur that sticks in the cold. The person across the table who you've been sitting across from long enough that the silence between you has learned to be comfortable. The house sounds you stop hearing until you've been away from them. All of that is happening somewhere. And here you are, in your ordinary. Which is, when you look at it from altitude, from the hill above the river, from the window seat of the bus pulling out, from the specific elevated perspective of having been somewhere hard and coming back, extraordinary. Which is always what ordinary is, from altitude, extraordinary. Let sleep come. Let it come the way it came for Jimmy Kowalski in the room without the stain, after the plan was kept, after the booth at Sal's, after the wine that tasted of keeping a promise. Let the day go. The day is done with you. You can be done with it. The next thing will come when it comes. Right now, just this. The quiet room, the warm dark, the sounds of your life settling around you. Centuries will pass, The mills will go quiet, the diners will change names, the streets will be repaved a dozen times, the old surface ground down and covered by new surface until nobody remembers what was underneath. The house on Dearborn Street will have different paint, different owners, different sounds going through the pipes, but somewhere, always, someone is waking before the alarm on a cold morning, dressing in the dark, going downstairs to the smell of coffee, sitting at the kitchen table in the particular silence of early morning, before anyone else is up, with the cup between their hands, not knowing yet, still in the before, still in the unremarkable, still in the Tuesday. Some things don't change, the ordinary doesn't change, the need for it doesn't change, the small, warm, unremarkable fact of being here, in your somewhere, at the end of your day. That doesn't change. Take it. Take the rest. You've earned it. Every ordinary day earns it. Rest now. Good night.